Alright, so I have a question for ask you. You have to sell one of your legs. How much you gonna charge for it? No, serious, I want to hear your answers. All the answers, let me hear them in the comments. I bring it up because of a story I want to tell you. It's a long story, but it got started on May 16, 2000. It happened in Jamaica, the island in the sun. It's a story about a young guy, we'll call him RC. He's a mechanic. And basically, he took a walk one day. He go check him girl, and after him leave her house, he was walking in a lane of Jake's Road in Mountain View. It wasn't super late, about 8:30 in the night, but it was night and it was dark. And I don't know, but it looked like him walk right into a gunfight. Bad boy a fire, policeman a fire. To this day, we don't know who's shot exactly. Lick him, but didn't get shot in him foot and drop a ground. Him say dead, him a go dead round. But him find the strength, him crawl, drag himself going somebody yard, and believe it or not, you know say good people still about. Somebody take the man into them house. You know the story in the Bible called the Good Samaritan? That's how the court later on described that person. This is how the judge said. His leg was shattered with the bones exposed. Whilst he lay bleeding inside the house, the Good Samaritan could only pray. He fell into unconsciousness. Hours later, him wake up. And when him wake, a beer police and soldier face him and lock up him. So you would I think say I help them come to help him, right? No. Them drag him from the house. Them drag him in the lane and them fling him in the back of one police car. And me say the back, me mean in the trunk. And if that never did bad enough, and then him one in the trunk. What next man did in the trunk, and it looked like say the man they dead already. So him and the dead man in the trunk of the police car, and the police them now drive him go hospital. So them reach the hospital and more police come. And right then and there, the police them swab him hand for gunshot residue. So you can see where it was going. Obviously, they thought he was a gunman. They thought that perhaps that's why he got shot. So they tested him for gunshot residue. But while them do the police work, he's also injured and doctor them have to do their work. The doctor them examine him, and the next morning now, them bring him go surgery to hold the gunshot mash up the youth foot. The doctor them look on it and it's like them a say to themselves, say we can't save it though. Yeah, we have to go take it. So him lose him foot. The doctors had to amputate his right leg. Imagine that. As a young youth, your whole life ahead of you, and you wake up and hear say your foot gone. But even as an old youth, if you're in an age and you have to adjust to life without a leg, it can be an easy thing for get accustomed to. But before him could have even think about that, RC buck up another set of problem. The police them arrest him. Now, I know like him could have run away but them not just say you're under arrest. After them tell him that, them actually handcuff him to the bed. I remember me tell us them do the gunshot residue test. Them never find no gunshot residue upon him hand. The test come back negative. Add to that, them never find him with no gun. But not only did they arrest him, them charge him. And not only did they charge him, them throw the book at him. Them charge him for illegal possession of firearm, illegal possession of ammunition, shooting with intent, wounding with intent. Honestly, I'm surprised them never charge him for bad word, abusive and calumnious language, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest. RC's life turned upside down, and he just kept going from bad to worse. Him spent 5 days at KPH. Police are watching him the whole time, handcuffed to the bed the whole time. A man with his leg freshly amputated. After 5 days, the doctors them tell him that, well, he's free to go. They discharge him. But he wasn't free. He was only free to go into the police custody. Police bring him to the Elliston Road police station, and after that, they bring him to Port Royal police station. When most Jamaicans think about a drive out on Port Royal Road, it's a happy thought. Perhaps you go airport and you go somewhere nice, or you pick up somebody who probably bring something for you from foreign. Or you go over Port Royal itself, maybe go see the attractions, Giddy House, or go Glorious, get some fish. But for RC, the drive was nothing but torture, wondering where he's going and why. And when he finally got there, it's not like answers would come. Them charge the man from he's in the hospital. You the things that the police them would have get the file together so that as soon as the doctor say the man can left, them would have bring him go court. But nothing like that. 5 days pass in the hospital, then him go one police station, now him go and drive out of Port Royal, and still him not see a judge, him not see a JP, nobody bring him to court. Him out of Port Royal, 1 day, then 1 night, then 2 nights. Then, before you look, 1 week pass. Still, nobody bring him go court. Remember said the leg has just been amputated. The court later pointed out that the leg wasn't being dressed properly. Jamaican jails don't have bathrooms in them. It doesn't have hospital beds. It doesn't have any sort of bed. There's nothing there to elevate the leg. But 1 week passed, and then more nights passed. Finally, after 2 weeks, they brought RC to court. People with disabilities can do amazing things. You see them, they run, they race. People with disabilities have shown that they can do just about anything with the right equipment. When the police took RC to court though, he didn't have the right equipment. He never have no equipment, no wheelchair, no crutches, not even a walking stick. You must think I make it up. When me tell you say the man had to hop go into the court. More than likely you don't know what halfway tree court looks like. But it's an upstairs and downstairs building. The people them who are locked up in jail, in custody, them come in on a truck or in a pickup from different police stations, and they are kept in a holding area downstairs the court. Them have to leave from that holding area now, come down a passage, go down a next passage, go up a flight of stairs to go in at the court. It's not a 1-2 step. This is what the court said. He was humiliated and embarrassed as he was stared at by civilians and police. One police officer offered his shoulder to assist him in getting into court. When him getting out of court and the matter called up, a Queen's Counsel asked the judge to grant him bail, and the court agreed. But there was a catch. Here's what you need to know about bail. The Constitution of Jamaica says that when somebody is charged with a crime, they are innocent until proven guilty. And because of that, they're entitled to get bail unless it can be shown with good reason based on the Bail Act that they shouldn't get bail. Depending on how serious the case is, either the police them at the station or a judge in court have to decide whether somebody who is charged should get bail. What the person who is deciding is trying to think about is, will this person, 1, come to court when it's time for the trial? 2, will this person commit any other crimes when they're on bail? Or 3, will this person interfere with any of the witnesses? Depending on the answer to those questions, the judge might or might not give bail. But if the judge has a concern, the judge shouldn't just rush to say, well, I don't feel like this man is going to come when it's time for him trial. I feel like he might go run away, so I'm not give him no bail. No, the judge can't just say that. Before the judge say that, she has to ask herself, are there any sorts of conditions that I can put on the bail that would cut down the risk of the man not turning up on the day of the trial. And if the judge decides to attach some sort of condition to the bail, she also has to figure out what the condition should look like. It shouldn't be too restrictive where it's like say the man's still in a prison, but it also shouldn't be so lax where it doesn't deal with the concern that the judge have. Anyway, RC got bail, but that bail came with conditions. I should also add, the law says the conditions are not automatic. The judge is not a robot. The judge has to think about all these issues based on the person who is standing in front of them, based on the evidence that come to court. Well, RC got bail, but one of the conditions was really stringent. He had to report to the police station every single day. So I guess I need to tell you about reporting. So remember I said that there are different conditions to bail. What are conditions? Okay, say the judge feel like the person might run away. The person is a flight risk. They might not turn up on the day of the trial. The judge has the option to say, 1, surrender your travel documents. Bring your passport, come down to the court, and we will keep it. Or 2, we want to keep tabs on you and know that you are around regularly. So you are going to report to the police every day or every other day or one day. The judge has to decide. Say the judge is concerned that this man who is accused of this crime might go and threaten the witnesses. The judge can say, as a condition of your bail, you have to move out of the community. That is the only way you're gonna get bail. When a person has reporting as a condition of their bail, they have to go to the police station at the times that the court has said and make the police see them. They walk with a little exercise book, and when they go to the police station, the police will sign the book to show that they have reported for the day. The judge decides what reporting looks like, how many days, how many times a day, where. Some people report 2 or 3 times a week. They may report morning and evening. They may have a report at a police station near them or in a different community. RC had to report every single day at first. And eventually, after a very long time, the conditions were slightly relaxed and he was allowed to report every other day. In all, he would report to the police more than 1,000 times over 4 years and 10 months. This is what the court said. He was an amputee. The process of reporting sometimes involved attending court and hospitals for treatment on the same day. He traveled in excess of 1,000 times to report, which is arduous enough for the able-bodied, but more so for an amputee. He was doing so even before his wounds were fully healed. There were times when he was the object of curiosity and the subject of adverse comments and humiliation by members of the general public and his community. Yeah, cause people I say, boy, what a man I do so? Make the government pressure him like that. It was his mom who had to take him to go do the reporting. She drove him more than 30 miles every single day for 3 years when he was reporting to the Vineyard Town police station. She had to drive him 22 miles every other day when he was reporting to the Duhaney Park police station. And for more than 200 days, he also had to take taxis to go report. The years came, and the years went, passing him by. His birthday came, and went, and came again, and went, and came again. Instead of being a joyful moment, he probably sat there thinking how another year of his life was gobbled up by the situation, by the accusation that just wouldn't die. Then came Christmas and New Year's. He would probably be hearing people say, boy, this is gonna be my year, And he couldn't make any plans or see anything different because, well, he had to report on New Year's and on his birthday and at Easter, on Emancipation Day, Independence Day, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. It was all the same for him, year in, year out. And maybe he had hope. Maybe he was a naturally optimistic person. Maybe some days were better than others. But just imagine the toll it must have taken. Not only having to report, but also to go to doctor, physical therapy, and in all of that, having to go to court again and again. Anxious for his day in court to come to clear his name, and perhaps also afraid, terrified of what that day would bring, since from the start and for years he was being accused by so many people of something that he knew nothing about. The trial. After almost 5 years, he finally got his day in court. Well, days. It lasted 6 days. Them claims that them catch him with a rifle and ammunition, and it was there. The rifle and the ammunition were there as exhibits in the court. You could see it. All of the witnesses were police officers and soldiers, official people. But there were some pesky little facts, problems with the prosecution's case. First, there was the lack of gunshot residue when they swabbed his hands. Remember, the police them swabbed the youth hand for gunshot residue and them never find any. So, as far as their scientific technology went, they couldn't tie him to a gun or say he fired a gun. And yes, it is possible for somebody to fire a gun and it not show up when you do a gunshot residue test. But you have to show that with evidence. And that's what the case was lacking. No one had seen him firing a gun. No one had found him with a gun. His crime, and the most obvious reason why the police set their sights on him, but they just couldn't say it, was that they found him with a gunshot wound on the night of a gunfight. After the prosecution had called their evidence, RC's lawyer stood up and make some arguments to the judge, something called a no-case submission. And he basically said to the judge, this case is so weak, it shouldn't go any further. It's a bold argument to make, to say that the prosecution don't even pass the minimum standard. But the judge agreed. So on the 16th of March, 2005, 5 years after the whole ordeal had started, the judge dismissed the case. The court acquitted RC, found him not guilty, without him having to say even one single word in his defense. That's how bad the prosecution's case against him was. After 5 years, he was finally free. Well, he might have been free in the mind of the judge, but obviously somebody disagreed. Whatever the reason, and whoever the person, whether it's police or corrections, I don't know, they acted as though the judge hadn't spoken. Like them never hear said the man acquitted and free to go. They ignored that fact and treated him like you would treat somebody who the court said was guilty. Instead of letting RC go, they took him back into custody and took his fingerprints. The man sued. Yeah. RC sued the police officers who had locked him up and who had started the prosecution against him. And of course, when you sue the police, you're really suing the government, and that means the Attorney General of Jamaica has to get involved. RC sued for malicious prosecution. That's saying that when the police charge him, they never do it for a proper legal reason, or the reasons why they do it never make no sense. It never meet the standard of what we should expect from a police. And he asked the court to give him more than just money for pain and suffering. He asked for something called exemplary damages. When people sue the government and the court say they must pay money, we call that an award. Exemplary damages are a type of award that the court can order. They order it when the rest of the compensation is inadequate, is too small to punish the what you call outrageous behavior of the government, and where the court want to show say it really disapprove of certain types of conduct and send a message to the government that that type of behavior must cut out. So he asks for exemplary damages to send a message about how badly he was treated, that it was the worst kind of treatment and that there was no reason and no explanation, no justification for it. Now here is the amazing thing. The government agreed. Yes, right up front, the government admitted liability. No contest, no fight, which is amazing. They were saying right up front, all right, we admit that we were wrong. That's not always the case. I will make another detour because I want you to understand how important it is. And every time somebody sue that the government just admit wrong, just because someone who was charged with a crime gets their case dismissed, it doesn't mean that the police acted unreasonably when they arrest them and charge them and prosecute them. It doesn't mean that when they sue, they will win. Let me give you 2 examples. Take Kevin's case. Basically, Kevin had attacked the police with a knife, and the police officers, in self-defense, shot him. The police shot Kevin, and then they arrested him and they charged him. And 6 months after the arrest and the charge, the file at the court wasn't ready. The judge managing the case said this is too long and threw it out. So because of that, Kevin was now acquitted. And he sued the policemen for the time they locked him up in custody and for arresting him and charging him. The court said, yes, the case against you was dismissed, and so you are acquitted, you are not guilty. But when we look at the evidence, there was more than enough reason for the police to shoot you, and for the police to arrest you, and for the police to have charged you. Just because Kevin's case was dismissed, it didn't automatically mean that the police were guilty of malicious prosecution. Here's another case. A minor claimed that David sexually assaulted her. It was another man who had actually done it, and it came out eventually that the minor had told a blatant lie. Eventually, the child told the truth, and the right person was identified and arrested, and that person pleaded guilty. They sued the police for malicious prosecution, basically saying that the investigator was unreasonable to have arrested him. But the court disagreed. Did the police do every single thing that he could have done to investigate the matter? Not necessarily. But the fact is, someone did accuse him. The police had a victim who clearly described an assault and said that David was the one who did it. When the judge looked at everything that the police had to think about, he decided that the police met the minimum standard. And it wouldn't be fair to say that the police had no reasonable grounds to prosecute David for a crime. Here's what the court said. The complainant deliberately lied to the police, the then resident magistrate, and a judge and jury about who did what to her. What she did caused very serious harm. Indeed, her action of deliberately misidentifying her assailant had the potential effect of allowing the real perpetrator to go unscathed, whilst another person took the rap for the heinous act done to her. In this case though, I can find no fault with the actions of the investigator or the Crown in the arrest, charge, and prosecution of the claimant. The point is, when a court says somebody is not guilty or the case against them is dismissed, it doesn't automatically mean that when they sue for malicious prosecution, they're going to win. Sometimes the person was found not guilty, but there is enough evidence to show that the police were right and perhaps the case fell apart because of technicalities. And sometimes the police turned out to be clearly wrong, but based on the evidence that they had at the time, them really couldn't know. And the law doesn't require them to know perfectly who is innocent or who is guilty, because the police can't know that. In RC's case, when the government admitted liability, they were saying it's not that the police turned out to be wrong. When we look at it, the police were wrong from morning, and they should have known that they were wrong. This should never have happened. The question I want to ask is, why didn't they see it before? As it happened, as it unfolded? Tell me what you think in the comments. The government admitting liability was a big deal, but that wasn't the end of the case. When you sue the government or you sue somebody, there are two parts to the case: liability and remedies. Basically, who is wrong and what should we do about it. Most times when people sue the government, them looking for money. They expect to get compensation, payment. And that's the part where the Attorney General in RC's case stepped in. They admitted that they were wrong, but they weren't giving the court free rein to award any amount of money. They wanted to say their piece on that section. And so the judge in the lawsuit had to analyze all of the evidence to see just how bad the situation was, to figure out how much money the government needed to pay the youth. And should the payment include this special award called exemplary damages. The judge came out swinging. She said there was no evidence that RC shot or wounded anyone. When you look at the case in its best light, she's saying when you take it at its highest, when you take it at its strongest, the most the police could be saying is that when they went to the house hours after the shooting and they found RC, somebody said that this was the man who pulled the gate and came out to retrieve a gun. At its best, they're saying that a officer identified him as a man who collected a gun. And that's if you believe the police. So even on the evidence that the police bring to the court, they didn't see him shoot anyone, they didn't see him wound anyone. The judge said the shooting took place at night in a lane and the policemen did not purport to identify any of the shooters down the lane. Again, RC was found hours after the shooting. No evidence was given that RC was found in the house clutching a gun. And again, there was no gunpowder residue found on his hand. They assumed he must have been involved and then set out to convict him. That assumption is called tunnel vision. One of the main purposes of Stuck is to highlight just how often this type of evidence has been scientifically proven to be incorrect and to be responsible for wrongful convictions across the world and in Jamaica. Considering all that evidence, the judge decided that RC's case was exactly the type of case where she should award exemplary damages and send a message to the government that the behavior was outrageous. Their actions in handcuffing the amputee to his bed after amputation under police guard was oppressive and cruel. Their imposition of charges of shooting with intent and wounding with intent, the continued prosecution of said charges in the face of negative swab results was arbitrary and high-handed. The failure to take the claimant to court within a reasonable time to be considered for bail was unconstitutional and callous. Their actions, taken as a whole, might be considered to be outrageous in the extreme. 14 years after the nightmare began, RC won the lawsuit and he got exemplary damages. The total award was about 3.2 million Jamaican dollars, with 1 million in exemplary damages.
Stop the presses!
When the government saw the money court order, them said, no man, this is too much.
No.
They appealed against the exemplary damages amount. They said that that 1 million was too high. Now let that sink in. When RC sued in the Supreme Court, the decision was made by a single judge. Before the Court of Appeal, there were 3 judges thinking about the case together. All 3 judges agreed that the first judge had made the right decision. There can be no doubt, they said, that this was a fit case for an award of exemplary damages. The badly injured respondent, that's RC, was forced to endure a period of nearly a month in the police lockup before being taken before the court. The policemen then instituted and pursued a prosecution against him for very serious offenses, They pointed to the absence of any gunpowder residue on RC's hand and said that the unchallenged evidence suggested that the prosecution ought never to have been brought in the first place. So much so that at the end of the day, the prosecution's case could not withstand a submission of no case to answer. But yet, the case remained on the court's list for nearly 5 years. So in July 2020, RC won his case. Jamaica's second highest court agreed that RC had been wrongfully accused, wrongfully charged, and wrongfully prosecuted. They agreed that he should get the $3.2 million pittance the judge had awarded him in 2014. Now, I did ask you a question at the start. If you were to sell your leg, how much would you charge? Did RC get justice? The money seems so small for all that he had to go through. And apart from that, he got the decision in 2020. Long after he would have most needed the money. I don't know, but I feel like you would most need the money right after losing the leg and needing to get adjusted to this new way of life. It's important to think about cases like this because some people may have the view that it's okay if the police mistreat citizens because, well, they can just sue the government. Some people may hear the news that so-and-so has gotten this money and so-and-so has gotten that money and think it's like winning the lotto. That these people are rich overnight for doing nothing. But what is it like in reality? How long does it take to clear your name, to sue in one court, and then to win an appeal? And even when they win, when do they get paid? Who decides what the payment will look like? Whether it's one lump sum or in installments, and how many installments? On one hand, it's really great to know that Jamaica is a country where people can go to court and say the government has violated my rights, and the court has the power to say yes, the government was wrong, and order the government to pay a person compensation. That's something that Jamaicans should never take for granted. But we should want to be a country where people see a man with his leg freshly amputated and ask, where are his crutches? Where the police officer or whoever is in charge of the lockups insists that someone in that condition must go to court immediately. As legal scholar Dr. Isakola Hassman says, laws do not apply themselves. Someone, somewhere must do things and make choices. We accept that when we're talking about the police, but the same must apply to prosecutors who have legal training and the duty of being ministers of justice. If, as the Court of Appeal later said, the evidence in RC's case was so weak, perhaps he should never have been charged. Why did the prosecutors keep it going in the court? And then there are the judges who decided the bail conditions. We know that there was really no evidence in the case. So looking back, you are forced to ask, what was it that drove the judge to impose such restrictive conditions? You know the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. You could almost flip that and put it in this context to say it took a village to abuse RC. Prosecutors and judges are supposed to be checks and balances protecting citizens' rights, even the rights of those accused of crimes. If prosecutors are willing to run empty files, why should the police stop submitting them? If judges will impose bail so harsh it's like jail itself, why would the police bother to do better? If you enjoyed listening to this story and you want to hear more stories like this, let me know in the comments and I will do some more.